Hello, and welcome to what's going to be a new part of Entertaining Jeremy. My reviews and stuff are still going to be coming, um, but I'm adding something new. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, I just discovered a couple of days ago that my wife is pregnant. So, in 8 months ish, I'm going to be a father for the first time ever. So, this is like a really big deal. So, there's always been like lessons and stuff that I wanted to pass on to my kids. From important things like learning about history and how to do certain things and stuff like that. And so I thought what I would do is I would start filming some of those life lessons that I want to teach my kids here with me now. So that way, when I do have a kid and I'm ready to talk about them, if I was like, oh, I wanted to know what a life lesson was, I can go back here and hang out with my kid and watch this. So there's a chance I could be watching this again in like 5 or 6 years, but with my kid. That's trippy. Okay, so the very first thing that I wanted to start with and what I wanted to teach you about is Superman. Now, this is a statue that Grandma and Grandpa gave me for Christmas a few years ago. I don't know. It made me very, very happy because it was the coolest present I've ever gotten, and I still love it. In fact, if all goes to plan, I should still have this, like in my office or somewhere. So, there it is. So this is Superman. Now, let me tell you about Superman. He was born not on Earth. He was born on a planet called Krypton. Now, Krypton was, similar to Earth, but a lot more technologically advanced. They all looked kind of like humans and stuff like that, but they had different stuff. Anyway, there was this cataclysmic event. Now, depending on which comic series you read, or if you watch a movie or whatever, they talk about some different things. But we'll just leave it at there's a cataclysmic event, and the whole planet was going to blow up. Okay, so what his parents did, Superman was this little baby, much like you were at one time. And they didn't want him to die with the rest of the planet. So what they did was they sent him in a spaceship and rocketed him through the skies. And as he left, their planet blew up. Okay, so Krypton, no more. The little baby, his name is Kal-El. Little baby Kal-El crashes on Earth and lands in front of the Kent's farmhouse. That's Jonathan and Martha Kent. This is a nice Midwestern family in Kansas, in Smallville. And that's just like the name literally, it's a Smallville, so it's a really small town, stuff like that. There's a whole show based on it, Smallville, which you've probably heard of. The first few seasons are really cool, and then they get weird and veer away from Superman stuff, so we don't watch that in this house. But you can watch the first few seasons, they were cool. So anyway, so Kal-El, that's a weird name, so we can't have that. So the Kents decide to call him Clark. So he's now part of the family. His name is Clark Kent. But he has these powers because the Kryptons weren't special, human, or they weren't any special powers or anything on their planet, because their planet, they were bound to their own planet rules, so they didn't have any, special whatever. However, here on planet Earth, because of our yellow sun and the different, sort of radiation and the rays and stuff that are there, it superpowered, this person from Krypton. So, Clark Kent has these special powers, and he doesn't quite know what to do with them. Eventually, because he's been taught by his father, he keeps them a secret. He doesn't, exploit them. He doesn't do anything bad with them. And eventually, in fact, he goes on to become Superman that we know now. Now, he goes to Metropolis, which is like the big city, in the town, and works at the Daily Planet. Now, this is like a big newspaper thing, and he looks kind of nerdy. He's got glasses on, and and he pushes them up a lot, which I know I have glasses too, but he acts really nerdy. And there he meets some people that are really famous in the Superman world. Perry White is his editor. Jimmy Olsen is this little redheaded kid who takes pictures. And then there's Lois Lane, who was like the main the main like journalist, reporter woman. And Clark Kent thinks she's beautiful and totally just wants to be in love with her. But, the problem is he's not human, so what are you going to do about that? thus is kind of the beginnings of who Superman is. Now, Superman, with his powers, basically goes and fights crime. So it's awesome. He's a good American person who goes and stops evil people from doing things. Like Lex Luthor, who, he's... well, there's a bunch of different variations of him, but usually he's really, really smart and really rich and uses all that money to do bad things, to get what he wants selfishly. So Superman fights him a lot. Sometimes stops him, sometimes doesn't, stuff like that. There's other Superman villains, like Brainiac. There's Mxyzptlk, I don't know his name. And then there's a whole Superman series where he kind of dies, and this bad guy's called Doomsday. Now this is when I started getting into Superman. So you'll eventually, read the comic book. Plus there's a pretty cool movie, a cartoon movie about it. So you'll eventually get to know more about that stuff. But what you want to know about Superman is you want to know his powers. So Superman can fly, which is why this cape is cool, because when he flies around, the cape flaps. So he can fly. He has laser beams that shoots out of his eyes that can heat up things. He has super breath, which can blow things over or freeze people also. And he has super strength. He can, like a plane was crashing and he stops the plane and lands it in a field and stuff. That's from the movie. And I think it was in a comic too. And he has super speed. Not as fast as the Flash, but we'll get into other DC heroes at another time. We're just going to focus on Superman for now. But he's really fast, okay? And he can fly around in space, and the sun helps heal him and stuff like that. So, and let's talk about his suit. Now, this is what I find interesting. His suit, depending on, what you read, is either something from Krypton or it's something normal. Now, what most people kind of think of how his suit is protected is because there's an aura about Superman. So imagine his skin, but he's so radiating of power that it kind of bubbles around him and thus protecting his suit. So you wonder, how does Superman shave or cut his hair? That's an excellent question. How he does that, because normal scissors would just break right off on his hairs. What he does is he uses his laser eyes, reflects them into a mirror, and shaves. Pretty cool, I know. There's some weaknesses that you want to know about too, because a lot of people complain about Superman, which I know it's hard to believe. Some people don't like Superman, but they say, oh, he's too strong. That's not fair. Well, obviously his biggest weakness is kryptonite, which is little rocks of his planet. Which I know you think, wait, I don't understand. How does kryptonite affect him if he was born there? Well, that's kind of what helped him kind of maintain normalcy on the planet. But also, now remember, because of the Earth's sun and radiation and everything, everything's superpowered, including parts of his own planet. So kryptonite, which usually comes in these little green gems, make him weak, and they can even kill him. So we avoid kryptonite at all costs. The number two thing he's not allergic to, but that his weakness is magic. Now, there's some villains that are magicians and they use magic. There's a lot of different reasons why maybe magic affects him. And I'm not talking about cool little card tricks and stuff like that, or the disappearing, thumb idea, which doesn't really work on video. Oh, kind of there. I'm talking about real magic. That kind of affects him too. But I will say the number one thing that I think Superman is the most weak to is his loneliness. It's because he's not from Earth, so he's not really a human, but he wants to be a human so bad, but he knows he's not. So he's always this outsider. And that kind of drives every part about his story, and he always feels like he can never really belong. And that's the tragedy of Superman. Now, people will complain about Superman. They'll say, they don't like him. But what you can tell them is that no matter what, Superman is always good. He's always stood for the right thing and the good thing, which not a lot of DC heroes can say that they've done, and especially not a lot of Marvel heroes can say that. So you keep that in mind and take all those things together, and that's the introduction of Superman and why he's awesome. But trust me, we'll learn plenty more about him as you grow up.